Good morning, and thank you all for coming today. I know it's early. I know that the weather didn't look like it was going to be conducive to drones, but today is about so much more than just drones. It's about a region. It's about a region that is looking at a pipeline for high school, college, corporate, that we all have a baseline that is going to be founded on FAA's rules and regulations. And from different points of view, that we have different people that will be involved in this. So I know we're few, they'll trickle in, but I assure you there's going to be a lot of information. The person that's going to MC this has been a buddy, a friend for way over 30 years. I was here, I have to tell you a funny story. I thought he was a stalker. So when we...
Normally funny stories don't start that way.
That's a good intro.
When we first met, prior to us meeting, I was at the, where they used to practice, the blues practice way out by St. Charles. And the players were giving me sticks and pucks and signing everything. Well, he was there. So he's watching, he doesn't miss anything. So he's watching, and then I'm to go and speak at KTRS on the Frank Opinion Show. Well, where do you think he's going? KTRS at the time. So I'm pulling in the parking lot, and somebody knocks on my window, startles me because I'm hiding all the sticks and everything in there. And I look over and I'm like, who is this? And he's like, roll your window down. And I say, no. So I cracked the window, and he said, who are you? No, who are you? That's the question here. And he's like, I saw you at the Blues. And now I'm positive he's followed me, right? You know, I mean, he knows what I've done. And so he says, no, what are you doing here? Because I work for the St. Louis Blues. And I said, well, I'm going on the Frank Opinion Show. And he said, well, come on, we'll walk in together. And I'm like, and that was the start of a beautiful friendship. And he has supported us all the way through Catch a Falling Star when I worked with kids with disabilities. Never missed one of our events, has been the MC, has been following the progress of this all the way through. And there is nobody in the world that I would want at this podium other than Chris Kerber, the voice of the St. Louis Blues. Please welcome Chris Kerber.
Yeah, we're going to work on an introduction with say, here's a stalker. We're going to work on that one just a little bit. No, it was amazing because, you know, when you see somebody in front of, you know, if you've ever worked around athletes or worked around people that are constantly go-getters, it is not easy to be going up to those guys. And what Carla ended up doing, she was collecting sticks, she was collecting autographs, collecting things to help kind of get some of her charitable aspects going. And then you end up seeing that same person a few minutes later as you're about to walk into the radio station, and I'm just one of those kind of people that says what she just said. Who are you? What do you do? I have a belief, and I hope to turn this into a podcast coming soon, but I have a belief that within 5 questions, I could meet anybody, find something interesting about them within the first 5 questions that could lead to spectacular stories, because I believe everybody has a story, right? We all got to walk around in our own lives, and we've all got to figure out what's going on, but nobody knows at any given moment what any of us are dealing with at the same day. Nobody knows what we all dealt with individually, right? So I believe everyone there has a story. That's kind of became my thing in life, is I just sometimes say, who are you and what do you do? And when you do that, you actually get to meet spectacularly great people. So how does that lead us here today? How does that lead us today to a guy that for 30 years has called pro hockey games, standing in front of you all who are a hell of a lot smarter than I am, talking drones and education and how that all goes? Well, education has always been a big part of my life, and it's actually a big passion of mine. So education of kids, and that's kind of where Carla and I have stayed connected through her different charitable efforts and then where we could help out. So over the last near decade, Carla has been, as she went back to school, went through that whole process, just constantly continuing to better herself, she ends up creating this world of aerial sync. It just doesn't happen, as you all know. So 9 years of foundational framework that gets into what have I done with kids? What all the charitable work of just catch a falling star, just making sure kids have what they need. Okay, now I'm fascinated in this world of drones, this world of technology, what it can be done, how it can help people. And it all kind of flows with who she is and what she has done. And then all of a sudden it's how do I take this technology and this fascinating world that I'm now into with the business knowledge I've learned by having gone back to school, and then I tie it into kids. And if any of you know Carla, you know that sometimes it is basically like the Big Bang Theory before it happened. Okay? And then every now and then, a Big Bang happens and planets fly. Right? And then yet each one has its own orbit and she manages to pull it all together. So when you look at the foundational framework of what we're here today, this is going to be, I think, a fun agenda throughout the morning here and into the early afternoon. There will be a lot of information, as Carla told you about. But whether it be the internal and external aspects of drone management, the safety procedures, risk management, data collection, right? Data requirements, project tasks, responsibility. Any of you that have worked in all of your different business worlds are going to go, these are the fundamental aspects of running a successful company. These are the fundamental aspects of a culture that you want to build in whatever business you're in. And as we now know in today's world, there's no more silos. They don't exist. They can't exist. You try to run your business, you try to run your world in a silo, and you will go for a little while, and then eventually you're going to fail, because the world just doesn't work that way anymore. So even in the world of, we're talking about drones and how they can help, if you think about it, all the different aspects of the world that it touches, from safety, risk, data, task management, responsibilities, deliverables, timelines, communication, education, that all comes together. This is where Aerial Sync and Carla have found a void that needs to be filled. And that's why you're here today. You're going to learn a lot about all this and more today. So quick run through of the agenda before we introduce our panelists. We're going to have a panel discussion with Keith Muller, with John Gilmore and Zach Lawrence. We're going to hear from them, hear what they do, hear what they're about, and the impact of this kind of brave new chaotic world that we're trying to get our hands around. There'll be an interactive session after that. Carla's going to come up, kind of tell you exactly what you're going to be doing. That's why you have the colors on your name tags. So you'll be breaking off into groups, give you a little bit of an idea of just how this whole process can work. And by the end of that interactive session, you're then going to understand where Aerial Sync and this mission comes into play. All right, so we're going to follow that up with a little update on the presentation on software, the website, Aerial Sync's website, and how that will work for you. Following that, we're going to bring up, introduce a real special guest we have here with Austin Blair. Hear from him, and Austin is quite an amazing man. We're a hobby, basically, of flying and drones has turned into a heck of a career, kind of focused around the sports world. And then we'll have also with Zach and Austin flight demonstration. John's going to MC it for us, so and we'll see everything here on the TV screen and all that. So that'll lead us up to lunch. Following lunch, Darren James will come up and we'll hear a little bit more from him. So again, we're going to try to tie this all together to get everybody excited, because it doesn't matter whether we're catching a falling star with kids that just need help finding a way to get them from school to a place where they can have support, or even in a world like this, or a world of education that can include anything from high school students to 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, to internal education within your own world. And I'll relate it to this. The best example I could give you to kind of make this real easy to tie it up for you before we pull our panelists up. It used to be, if you were in a business or you're in the sports world, if you wanted a story out, you had a PR team. They had to somehow put a story together. Then we had to convince a TV station to come cover it, right? It was the only way to get the word out. We had to create media. We had to get media. We had to get writers. We had to get, this is even pre-websites, right? We had to get the newspaper excited about it. And they only had a certain amount of space. And you had to find a way to get a TV station and convince them that 30 seconds of their newscast is worth your story. That doesn't exist anymore. You can tell your own story, right? Through your social media, through your own websites. When you used to have to hire production crews to come in and shoot commercials, and they had teams of creative people to tell you the storylines for your ad campaign, and all that had to be done. You can do it all. You can do it all now. And most of the time, you can do it on this, and most of us with kids, our kids are going to tell us exactly how. I actually had my daughter the other day tell me how to share an Instagram post so I can get O.B. Clark's voting done for a food contest they were in. Like, I don't know how to share this, help me out. Right? But it can all be done that way, and those efficiencies are there. Well, this world that you all are in, and this topic, is that same way. But it's not quite there yet, right? So you're going to start looking, well, how do we use drones? How are they going to help us with first responder situations? How are they going to help us with bridge inspections? How are they going to help us in this whole world? How are they going to help us? How are drones going to help us at Worldwide Technology Raceway, right? And bring an experience to our fans that's second to none, right? You can't ignore it. You can't not do it because other people are. You got to do it. Well, those efficiencies are going to continue to grow. Where you're going to hit a point you're like, okay, do we hire somebody that does this? Do we bring them in-house? Do we create our own department? The St. Louis Blues, 8 years ago, I was asked, how do we tell our own story? I said, I need you to hire this guy, I need a camera, and I need a lighting set. Well, they did. Well, we now have a video department of about 12 people. They're winning Emmys, right? And that's developed, so we tell our own story. How are you guys going to use this technology to do what you need to do? And to do that, you've got to then have an HR department that's educated in a process. You're going to look at efficiencies of technology. Is it worth buying this? Is it worth renting this? Is it worth resourcing this? But even if I resource this, once I get all this information, who's going to manage it for my company? Who's going to manage it? Then once I get this, actually, hey, this information is really good. Who else could use this information, right? Who do I share it with? How am I going to do that? That's what today ends up being all about. That's where Ariel, Sink, and Carla come in. She's found a way to pull all this together, and she's basically just made the next step of everybody else's world a whole lot easier because she said, we've got it covered for you, and we're going to show you how to do it. Ready to learn a little bit?
Yes.
All right, let's go to work. All right, we've got 3 panelists to bring up for you here. First up, Zach Lawrence. Zach, come on up. And I am fully admitting, because I learned also in life, not to go out over my skis. Yeah, Jack, no, grab a seat right there, Zach, with that. There's a lot of words, there's a lot of acronyms, there's a lot of things that if I tried to read them to you, it might be more of a comedy show than anything else. So Zach, if you don't mind, tell everybody who you are and your experience in this business.
So my name is Zach Lawrence. I work with Horner and Schifrin. We're a local engineering company, and I am the senior GIS analyst and a drone operator, a small unmanned aerial system operator. So there's your acronym.
Perfect.
I've been with Horner and Schifrin for since 2012, and I believe 2015 or 2016 is when I started doing drone work. I think John asked me one day, can you go out and use this drone that we just bought from Target or something? To take some, or Schiller's, local camera plates, to take some pictures. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it kind of just went from there. So now I head up our drone team. We have 4 pilots now. And I am in charge of training them, making sure that everybody's licensed, managing our inventory, and then we also do project work, which is mainly surveying and mapping. LiDAR, taking site photos, doing some inspection type work, trying to get into like doing stuff with thermal, but every year we're expanding our services, and I'm the leader of the drone team. So.
All right, John, come on up. John Gilmore, 27 years of experience in the surveying world and a variety of projects with GIS services. And it all started with asking somebody, want to go get a drone at Schiller's?
Yeah. So
And here's the one, I may not know a lot about drones, I do know a lot about microphones. That one doesn't seem to be on. Can you all hear them just fine back there?
Oh, yeah.
We're good? No? Talk while I work.
I'll talk a little louder. Sarah's gonna turn the volume up.
There we go.
Better now?
Yeah, keep going.
Is that better?
Yep.
All right, is that better? Not really?
It's on, but we're not.
It's on and I got the volume all the way up.
We're good. I can speak loud.
Keep talking, yeah, just pretend like you're in high school public speaking, project to the back of the room.
Let me go through it first.
Yeah.
So, my name is John Gilmore. I'm the Geomatics Business Unit Leader for Horner and Schifrin. I've been with the company 29 years, May 1st this year. So, I'm a CAD, survey, IT, GIS specialist. Started out as a CAD technician out of Swick here in town, and have grown over years. But about 2012, that's when Zach and I were actually both in school at the same time. That's where we first met. And brought him on, and about 2021, I took over as a business unit leader for my boss, who was our IT director. So from there, I manage everything day to day, from the survey side to drone mapping. I go out and get the job, talk to all the clients, and bring it, hand it off to him so he can go do the job.
And our third panelist, Keith Mueller. Keith, thank you, sir. Come on up and fill that board. The coordinator of the Aviation Flight, Aviation Management, and Aircraft Dispatcher programs at Southwestern Illinois College. Keith, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. In my background primarily consists of 37 years with American Airlines, and they're retired the last 10 years or so as the Central Division U.S. Regional Manager for Aircraft Maintenance and Engineering, actually. I was the station manager and actually the executive officer for the St. Louis area for American as well. Been involved with the SWIC programs now, as you said, coordinator of aviation flight management programs. That includes airplane flight, helicopter flight, associate degree in aviation management, a bachelor's degree in aviation management through SIU Carbondale. It's on our Belleville campus. An aircraft dispatcher program as well. We've had for many years all those, and then now we're adding an avionics program as well. So have instructor ratings and hold an airline transport pilot certificate as well, and pretty good flight background in the corporate world in the Part 135 commercial air charter. And actually next month, involvement with the SWIC programs sounds a little crazy, but 49 years. So been there, done a little bit, and I think there's a major area here in the UAS world that is not being addressed at all yet compared to what it needs to be addressed. And we have courses right now at Southwestern, and seriously looking at putting together an associate degree program as well. So something we have a significant interest in. This is not going away. It's going to only get bigger. It's going to get a lot better. Thank you.
Keith, let's start right there with what you just said. What is that big area that you're seeing that needs to be addressed?
Much of that is still to be explored, actually. But we know that there's significant operations in UAS today when it comes to agricultural. I think a lot of people really don't have a clue yet of where that is and really where it's going, and areas of unknown where we're going to go with it before it progresses into the next several years or so. There's a huge area when it comes to naturally search and rescue, law enforcement significantly, disaster relief situations. You know, we have many natural disasters that occur around the country, around the world, and we get into situations where sometimes it's unsafe to put that human element in there at first in order to go ahead and determine, you know, a level of potential damage and also a level of potential threat. So we could talk about countless, I think, opportunities, you know, for drones today, where this is and where it's going. So this is something that a lot of us are here to explore as well. And I certainly have a lot to learn about that. I do not hold a UAS, but like I said, I do hold an airline transport pilot certificate. A little bit bigger, a little bit faster, but the other portion of it is that technology moves on, and this is what we have to be here and be ready to accept that technology and see where we can take it to the next step.
John, when did H&S decide to get into this and start investing in the drone technology?
So probably around 2015, we started seeing the need for safety in what we do. We also saw the need for quicker and more efficient management of what we do, why we do it. So that was kind of the forefront of it is we've got to do things more efficient. We've got to be profitable as well. So we started looking into that technology to help figure out what our clients are wanting as well. So we spent a lot of time investing in why we were doing it, what our clients were asking for, and being able to produce them.
How did you go from there to then figuring out what types of drones?
We spent a lot of time with Zach and myself kind of looking at the different types, what the capabilities were, cost, ease of use, manufacturers. And then from there, we figured out, I gotta go talk to my board and say, hey, this is what we want to invest in. This is what we think will help our MEP department, our transportation department, our own department. You know, we just don't do work for ourselves, we do work for other organizations within our own organization. So from there, we decided this is the one we want to start here. We started out with a little DJI Phantom to start with, and then we progressed into our Matrix 300 that Zach's going to show today.
Zach, this was not on the list of questions I was given, but that's
I'm
more
ready.
my world when I start to fly by the seat of my pants here.
I'm ready.
What's it been like for you? And I think this is a really important aspect of this world. But what's it been like for you to be on the, shall we say, ground floor of building this type of department and being a part of this type of department for a company with the vast range of opportunities that it presents?
Sure. A lot of like the engineers that we work with are used to getting, for example, in like a search, say I'm doing a survey, I'm going out and doing a topographic survey, they're used to getting things in a certain format and seeing things in a certain way. And it's been challenging to get it to kind of people to kind of look and say like, this data is reliable, it checks out with what we do normally in the survey world. So that's been a challenge, but it's also been a challenge too, which how fast the drone technology itself actually has progressed. Like John mentioned, a few years ago we were flying a $1,200 drone. Now we have a $50,000 package. So keeping up with technology every year, every 2 years has also been a challenge as well. But it's been, I think it's been great. It definitely helps every department in our company. So working with everybody has been.
Okay, how long did it take you to basically obtain your commercial drone license?
I think I did around like probably 40 hours worth of studying, and then took the test, and then just constantly doing some. The FAA has like some stuff online that I'll constantly keep up with, safety tests and stuff like that.
From that aspect of it, walk us through now where you guys are at and what are some of the primary uses
So,
of drones for you?
what we're using drones with primarily right now is doing topographic surveys using LiDAR. That is keeping our survey crews out of the woods and saving us, countless hours of time. We had a 1,000-acre project site not too long ago, and to have to do that by hand, walking through woods, would have taken months upon months. We did it in, we were able to collect all that data in a week, and then work from there, and and meet a timeline that was more like a month instead of 6 months. So yeah, really topographic surveying is what we're doing. We do site inspections as well, and then just we have some municipal clients, and then also some like the DOT clients that we do some aerial imaging for, which is just imagery and whatnot. But yeah, primary use is LiDAR topographic surveying.
So Keith, you have companies that are doing this, putting things in the air, moving them around from guidance on the ground. I got to think there are some inherent risks that come along with this. So when you look with your experience, what are some of the risks associated, say, with unauthorized drone usage, improper drone approach, and then how do we mitigate some of these risks moving forward?
Well, education, I believe, is the key to this to start out with, but then we have individuals that in many cases, sometimes they step into something too fast. They really don't take the time to determine, what are some of the requirements, what are the operational requirements, make themselves familiar with the Federal Aviation Administration as well. And I've received several phone calls already over the last couple of years even, asking about drone usage, and typically the question comes up with, I don't hold any type of drone pilot certificate, I have no background in aviation, but I want to do this or I want to do that. Some things are, they're again, sounds pretty reasonable, but sometimes things that people want to do is pretty far off actually. There was a call that came in a few months ago that the individual lived right next to Spirit of St. Louis Airport and wanted to do some drone operations over there, and asked if that was possible. And I said, well, my first answer is no, my second answer is yes. Initially, without any authorization, without any coordination with this, yeah, it's immediately it's an illegal type situation. But I'll be best to go ahead and employ or find somebody that that does have a UAS certificate to start out with, and I can put you in contact with the airport authority over there, and under certain circumstances, under proper notification, under limitations on altitudes, yeah, the answer a lot of times can start going to yes. Immediately the answer from the person was, yeah, am I going to do it? And I get caught. What am I going to do? Get a traffic ticket? And I said, well, you need to make yourself a little bit more familiar with civil law, because if you violate civil law, that's what a federal requirement actually is. You're not going to find yourself at the local courthouse paying a $25 fine. You're going to go to federal court, and they don't think there's anything funny about what you think is funny. And fines start at $12,000, and I'll guarantee you there's no discount for not having the educational side of that. So first thing I would say, explore what are the federal requirements, enroll yourself in a program that is going to go ahead and give you the proper certifications, and you follow the rules, follow the regulations. It works actually very well. And at SWIC, we were within 5 miles of the Scott Air Force Base, and there's a 5-mile no-fly zone around Scott, just like there is any other airport. But a lot of times what people don't understand is that the hospital location, in many cases, if not all cases almost, have heliports. It's an airport. So what do we see? Belleville, a number of times, other areas around here, we have situations where big parking lot, not many cars in it at the weekend, most of the staff is off, and we're flying drones in the parking lot at a major hospital. That doesn't go over real big at all. We had another incident here in the St. Louis area. A friend of mine, inspector with the FAA, went ahead and got a call, and there was drone operations within about 3/4 of a mile of the runway 8 right at the Spirit of St. Louis Airport, and it was in a church parking lot. And you got a call, and it was a comment from a pilot making an approach into the airport that there was a drone very near his altitude as he was on the ILS, Instrument Landing System. So the FAA gets called, and the person shows up, and they basically told him to leave, get off the property. You have no right here, and this is our organization, and I'm not asking you, but I'm telling you to leave. That's a good way to walk out of there in handcuffs, because again, you're getting into civil law. So the best thing I can say on this is that, spend a little time to, first of all, do the basic education of it, understand what's right, what's wrong, do a certification process, obey the rules, and you have a lot of people on your team, but you don't want the other people on your team when you don't do things right. So my best advice.
John, there's a lot of excitement of what you can do here. There's a lot of, it's really so many opportunities of the usage and all that. Are drones 100% safe?
No, there is nothing 100% safe. We've had incidents, we've had bird strikes, we've had equipment failure. Things like that will happen. But if you follow the rules, like we're talking about, and the things that we've done from a safety standpoint, we don't hover over people, we don't hover over schools and stuff like that. We stay away from those areas. That allows us to say, okay, if we do have an incident, it's replace a blade, replace a unit, not, I got a property damage. We try to limit that. And that's what we work.
Walk us through a little bit of the process of how, from a company standpoint, you created the framework of those safety procedures.
A lot of it really spent a lot on Zach's end, of just looking at all the requirements, reading the FAA requirements, on the Part 107, where are those items. A lot of on our end was, what's the insurance like? What's that going to be? Making sure everybody that is certified pilot is on our insurance as well, we're covered. So really, it was looking at the HR part. You were mentioning that earlier. All the different parts, marketing, HR. How do we fit all that into our group as a whole, and making sure we are meeting all those criteria? How are we promoting? How are we telling our clients this is what we need to do and so forth? But the safety is on the pilots themselves. They are required to. You're the one in control out there. You're the one that has to decide is it safe to fly or not. That's not my decision. I don't know the conditions out there. Today we were worried about rain, wind. I'm asking him, is it safe to fly today? You tell me. I'm not the expert. I don't have my UAS pilots either. But I oversee and know that I have my trust in him.
So Zach, walk us then, following up on that, through what your training process has been like, and then even from a managing aspect, what are some of the factors that you have dealt with or continue to deal with, even once you think you have a pilot that you trust, it's good, got all the qualifications, but you still need to make sure that things are managed properly.
Sure. Again, with my training process, we use the FAA's resources online. That's what I have all of our staff and pilots. I have them review all that. We use an app called APC Prepware. It actually has stuff for commercial licenses, I believe, as well. And it has the tests that you'll take, and has every question they can possibly ask, every kind of situation that you can possibly be in is on there. So that's what we use to do our, like our book training. But then like operational training, I take our staff out in the field, and we actually do quite a bit of work, kind of going off what Keith mentioned over in Spirit, St. Louis. So we have been in close contact with the FAA, with air traffic control over there, making sure that we're doing things the right way and not becoming those folks that are that wasn't us being reported or things like that. So just making the staff aware that this is how things should go, this is how things should work, and that's how you mitigate any kind of accidents or things that could go wrong.
Okay, automation software versus the manual flying, do you use both? How does it work within the world
Sure.
that you guys use it?
Sure. We do use both. Most of our surveying stuff is done automated, by mission planning. So we'll do a lot of that in the office, check our airspace, make contacts with folks if we need to make contact with the FAA or air traffic control, sometimes even facilities. Then we'll take that out in the field, and we will just let the drone pretty much do its own thing. It always has a manual override. We always have somebody on the controller, and we always have a visual observer with us just to, if something were to go wrong, worst case scenario type thing. The manual override takes effect instantly as soon as you touch the stick, the platform that we use. So the fail-safe procedures are there.
So even in that scenario, we're still talking about a lot of in-office planning.
Sure.
And processes, and even that, as we all know, no matter what business we're in, takes then a strong structure of communication, a strong plan of attack, trust, all that aspect still has to play a role in this. So it's not like you just create this one whole department. And again, when I talk about the siloing that happens in the world of business today, it's still a factor where all those other aspects of your business culture have got to be a strong piece of whatever type of planning is done on this front.
Yep, yeah, and safety is our biggest concern, and following all the guidelines that are put in place underneath the Part 107. So that's most important for us.
So Keith, I sit here and I'm going off script a little bit here again, but when I hear this, it's like, well, we follow the FAA, we do this, you know, we've got this, we've created our plan. Are there, at the current moment, some standardized, I don't know if what we call them, checklists or standardized criteria for pilots, for companies to show proficiency when they get in this? And if they are, do they need to be improved on, or are we still in the stage where that's an aspect that needs a lot more focus?
That's an area that the FAA is exploring right now, and I believe we're going to see action on it within the next 2 years or so. But there's a program with the FAA called NPRN, Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, and that starts sometimes with new technologies where we learn more about the expansion and operations of drones. In the very beginning, it kind of started out as a toy, and very soon was seen as a very useful tool. But the FAA looks at incidents that have occurred, and there has been some in the area. But if you look at some of the major ones that have occurred with drones in the UK as well. London Heathrow was shut down on several occasions a couple years ago with due to drone situations, and actually lasers supposedly on drones. That gets really serious. So the FAA, looks at these type of things, and that's what is really the catalyst that generates more movement in the NPRN. And there again, hazardous operations for bigger areas. And so we're going to see it, I think, down the road within the next couple of years, a check ride. And to me, that's something that I don't know why they didn't do it in the very beginning. Because you can sit in a 107 course, you can get a certification. I never touched a drone before, and now you're licensed to go ahead and fly it and operate it in a populated area or non-populated area, certainly, and with zero experience. So the concept of a training segment and a training program, I think, is essential. And as I said, I can't see why it hasn't been brought into place yet, because it gives anyone the license to operate the drone once they get a Part 107, but it doesn't necessarily give them any proficiency whatsoever. So the proficiency is the key to this whole thing. Is that not going to put a person at the controls of an airplane that never flew before, that's for sure. You can imagine what the resource is going to be, but there again, the situation here is, it's on a smaller scale, but depending on where, what, and when, could escalate very quick, very, very big. That place is ready before night operations were authorized. I've seen that. Also seen flights over crowds and things of that nature. And people kind of do what they want. And that's what they think is okay with me as long as I don't get caught. Well, here again, where you're getting into operation of any type of an aerial vehicle, the FAA has jurisdiction over. There's civil law, as I mentioned. So. And there's a coverall in there when it comes to reckless and careless operations and intended reckless and careless operations. That's where civil law fines get really, really serious. And it's always said, civil law judges see no humor in anything. So it's the concept of doing it right, the first time. So yeah, do we need training? Yes, we do. Do we need to expand it? I think significantly that as well. Yeah, we sure do. So there's going to be, there again, a criteria set up for a check ride, as we refer to it, as in commercial operations and private operations as well, in airplanes and any civil aircraft that's licensed under the FAA. So yeah, it's something we definitely need.
We're going to, I'm going to open this up for questions here in just a moment, but before we do, we've had some students walk in, and I'd like Carla to quickly, Carla would like to say something on the student front before we move forward with this. Carla?
Thank you, Chris. As all of you know, we chose one school to work with as the prototype this year for our after school. And Ron Warden principal, he's the superintendent of Madison County Schools that's here today. Juan Williams, who is the principal of Madison, his mother passed away. He would have been here also. But these kids are, have become near and dear to my heart. And I would like to call my flying stars up to the front. And by the way, as a team, they picked this name. This was the very first thing they did to learn about teamwork together. Face out there. So they designed the sweatshirts, but somebody had to pay for them. So the board was gracious enough to give money, and so I would like start with Mitch. Just say their name and they'll. Rob.
Connor? Congratulations, great work on everything you did this semester.
Laura.
Jaleel, I hope this takes you forward with a lot of skills that you can build a career on. And that's a very valuable thing to start your life with. But congratulations to all of you.
Just, is there another sweatshirt? Micaiah. Thank you for everything. You've been a great leader. I have your sweatshirt. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry, I was like, where's my other board member? He's on the panel. John Gilmore is also a board of directors, so.
Zach, congratulations.
Thank you all. There's restrooms back there. You can switch them out and wear your colors. Thank you.
Nice work, you guys. Okay, before I take questions for our panelists for the next couple of minutes while we break up into the different groups, here's a question that I have. So I'm driving home late night from a lot of hockey games, and on a real regular basis lately, as I'm going down Henry Road towards Manchester there in West County, right? I've seen a drone a lot of times fly up, kind of goes up, and you just kind of watch it, and it kind of, it's taken a similar path time in and time again. And I've seen it now happen, I'd say, in the last 6 months quite a lot. As just a normal guy driving home from work, and you see that, is there a way to find out what the hell it is? Or what's going on? Or as a normal citizen, if you see something flying over your head, flying over your house, right? Is it legal? Is it, like, what possibly could it be? Like, where does that aspect of this world come into play for you guys that are dealing with this from a company standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no good way to figure out who it is unless you can see where the pilot is. And that's sometimes like we'll have that and folks will come over to us. A lot of the times when we're working in an area, we're trying to tell as many people as possible, like, this is what's going on. We're not spying on you. We're doing a topographic survey. A lot of the times we're not even, we're more over the woods and things like that. But I mean, there's times where it's close to houses and stuff, and people will come out and ask us. And yeah, there's no way to tell. I mean, there's really no good way to, unless you have, the equipment and the drones on the ADS, there's no way to tell. So it is kind of a gray area.
Similar?
I would comment on that. In many cases, it's a difficult situation. Pretty remarkable case that happened within the last year in the Miami area. amazing that a person would do what they did, but they were using a drone in the beach area, rather low, and what's one of the things that you very commonly see along, beach areas on the U.S. border, Coast Guard helicopters. And the so-called drone pilot, was not a drone pilot actually, made several passes up along the beach with a drone that was at really an altitude that actually was in a potential collision course with Coast Guard helicopters. And it happened actually several times. And again, it was observed in each case by the rotor crew. And yeah, they were trying to go ahead and determine who was involved in this situation until the person who was the so-called unauthorized pilot of the drone posted it on YouTube.
Smarts eventually comes out.
We always
Right, the
hear
brains come out.
about the dumb criminal. There's a classic example of, I guess you could say, stupid.
Self-incrimination.
Got burned pretty bad, so, yeah, the system works.
Gotcha. All right, any questions from you guys out there? Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So would you anticipate us starting to see a registration procedure for purchasing drones rather than, and doing a migration behind the hobbyist drone operator versus, the professional operator? But actually, when you go into Costco to buy a drone, that you have to register and register that piece of equipment? Wow.
So,
I can help with that. Anyone over the age of 13 that's not, you should be registered. And you go on the FAA and you register. Even if you are not a commercial pilot, your drone needs to be registered. Anybody over the age of 13. Now, are they doing that? No. But do they know that? That's the problem. This is the wild, wild west. It's a new industry. And if you look at any industry, they're always grounded in education. That's why we're here today.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
What industry right now is probably has the fastest growth or use of drones, and what do you see in the future? Is it law enforcement, military, private industry?
I'm not 100% sure what's the biggest one. I know for us, at least for in the engineering world, the ASC world, I mean, it's grown tremendously for us. Like every one of our departments are using data or asking how can we use it. For like a personal example, my wife works at an urgent care in North County, and there was just a situation last week where the police used a drone on somebody who was barricaded in their house, and she was like watching this happen, and they put a drone in before they put the dog in. So I would have to say, like, the law enforcement too, and search and rescue stuff, I think is becoming, from what I've seen, one of the bigger ones.
I think it's going to be across the board, to be honest. I think it's going to be in everything. People who are familiar with Walmart down in Arkansas, they're already doing deliveries. My IT director was down there in our office, and we're sitting there and like, where do you want to go for lunch or dinner that night? So we tried to go to this restaurant just down from Walmart. Sure enough, there was the drone pilot up in his little booth. You see that thing in and out. I'm like, all right, well, now it's personal delivery. We've seen it in law enforcement. We're using it in engineering. And decide to hobby. So you're going to see it everywhere. If there's a way to use it, someone's going to find a way to use it.
Yeah, currently SWIC operates the now training center for Illinois State Police in Belleville. And they say they're going to be possibly training down the road up to 300 officers a year. It's a pretty large group. And I think it's quite smaller than that right now yet, but it came to me about the possibility of running every one of those officers on a rotational basis annually through that in order to go ahead and be able to fulfill needs of various different areas, because these individuals from all over the state It hasn't been poured in stone yet, but it's truly something that looks like that there's going to be going in that direction. One of our prior instructors for our drone course was Illinois State Police. He's based in the Marion, Illinois area, and he was just stating one of our classes an incident that occurred. It's been about a year and a half ago now, but there was someone that actually walked into a quick shop, gas station, whatever, and robbed him. And as he was leaving the parking lot very quickly in his vehicle, he ran over something and damage to his car. Heard he took out the lower radiator hose as well, and anyhow he takes off on Highway 57 going north at a pretty high rate of speed, and anyhow lost all his antifreeze, his liquid, and car started overheating, and finally engine quit, locked up, and he bails out of the car, and he was armed, bails out of the car and runs into a several 100-acre cornfield, and it was in August, and it was pretty much so top temperatures of the day, and no time they had 4 or 5 squad cars there, and he's in this several 100-acre cornfield, and pretty tough to find somebody. And they spent a couple hours searching, and kind of a bad news situation. Officers are even getting dehydrated and that. And finally, they called the drone group in, and about 15 minutes, thermal imaging, they had him nailed down. And as the police officer told me, he was more than ready to be caught after spending about 4 hours out there or so. And he said he's almost had to carry him out willingly. So, yeah, law enforcement, I think it's huge. And there again, the observation of crowds, and there again, crowds sometimes that are not necessarily there for something that's an entertainment. It's something that could be getting into looting, riots, things like that. Is areas where it's safe for an officer to go ahead and venture into as well. So, yeah, I think this is endless, and it's where our imagination can take us is where it's going to go ahead and go. And if we look back at 100 years ago, and we can say someday we're going to the moon, and had the opportunity to speak with one of the engineers who's, I think, 96 or 97 right now, very articulate, very, very sharp at that age. But he was involved with McDonnell Douglas at the time with the development of the Apollo system. And as he said, in '62, they told us we're going to the moon. Nobody did that before. Where do you start? How do you get there? How do you get back? Everything's on top of the table. Nothing's off the table. It's a think tank to no end. So you look at the short period of time, we went from back of a horse back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, to where we went in 1969 going to the moon, and know where we are today. Massive leaps in technology. We went to the moon, the band capsule was downloading about 8 lines of telemetry. Today, a modern Boeing 777 can download up to about 112 lines of telemetry coming from that aircraft in flight across the Atlantic over the polar ice cap. So technology is changing, and where we're going is where our imagination takes us. It's a big part of this, and a big part of so many other things. So where's drones going? The big answer is I don't know, but we will know as we go forward with this. And this is an area that really, I don't think it has too many boundaries right now, because it's going to evolve into something that very much so different than what we see today, no doubt. Orville Wilbur figured it out, but the thing about it is that what did it take to go beyond that? As I always say, if you don't think out of the box, you're never going to get out of the box.
And those two guys owned a bike shop.
Means nothing.
And those two guys owned a bike shop in Ohio, So you put that into perspective there. I will add one more thing too. Our team photographer has gotten a drone license. They do a team photo every single year, and while they're taking the photos, there's the drone in the arena. Production crews, and we'll find out with Austin here in a little bit. I mean, it's become, instead of big, strong arms, can you just put a drone that's hovering in an arena? Can you do it inside safely? And we don't, because we're fear of something does happen. I mean, we've literally I've been in meetings with this conversations happening. Like, no, could only imagine if something goes wrong, and that one of these things just comes down into section 112, right? So there's different aspects of that, but even in the sports world, it's touching this aspect of it. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your time on the panel. I know some of you guys will be around. So moving forward, again, quick recap for what's going to come up. We're going to split you guys up into groups, have a little interactive session. I think I'd speak for a living. If you look on your name tags, you'll see red, blue, what else we got? Green and yellow. So we'll do this for about 30 or so minutes or so. Obviously, if you need a break, there are some refreshments still in the back as well. And then we're going to have a little presentation on the software and the website that kind of ties it all together, which will lead us to right before lunch, where we're going to have a spectacular demonstration as well from Zach and from Austin. Sound good? Experts or leaders right now is also helpful. So it just gives you a little bit of a window, a slight opening, an opportunity to understand kind of the magnitude of everything involved. And maybe for some of you, you're like, yeah, had all that down, had all that in my head. Maybe for others, okay, there's some other angles I hadn't thought of. But even just when you think about the involvement of the students and where they are, you see how great the opportunities in this field is, not just for your businesses, not just for the industries that you participate in or work in or touch. What's our catchword? These not the spaces you are in, I guess, is what one of the phrases of today is, but also just how important touching the communities and the education is, because all the work that a lot of you might be putting into this, you need somebody to follow it up. There's got to be succession plans, and that's got to come through education. That's the only way that works. All right, how do we do it? How do we move forward? There's software, there's resources, there's websites, right? We have Sarah Samuels, we've got Justin Mullen here to help you walk through that for the next few minutes, and that'll keep just kind of the eye-opening process of today moving forward. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're from Toronto. We won't hold them against them, but they were happy the Blues tickets don't cost quite as much as Maple Leafs tickets.
That's true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So for those of you who we haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, as you mentioned, I'm Sarah, this is Justin, and we're from D2L. So a little bit about what D2L is. We are actually a learning technology company, and we provide a learning platform called Brightspace. And what Brightspace does is we really accommodate a diverse learning community, and we're partnering with Carla and Ariel Sink Center to showcase what that learning can look like. So to sum it up, we are the kitchen, and Carla's educational drone content is what the ingredients are going to be. So we also partner with SWIC, who many of you who may be familiar with, which based on what we've heard today. With that, I will pass it over to Justin, and he's going to show you where the real magic happens.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And yeah, thank you so much, Carla, for having us and working with us these past little while. It's been fantastic. So as Sarah said, we're the kitchen, and you fine folks and Carla and her team are providing all the ingredients. And essentially, education is key. Education is making sure that we can actually get this information out to users, make sure that they're managing and accessing their drones responsibly is massive. But how do we scale that? How do we get it out to everybody? How can we even track completion data and make sure everybody's getting the grades that they need, receiving awards, badges, certificates? Well, that's all done right here through Brightspace. So Brightspace is a modern, intuitive, cloud-based platform, where essentially this is where you take all that wonderful learning content and start housing it. You could even start using courses to create essentially communities of learning, where you can start creating opportunities for networking, creating opportunities for working with peers in your space. And with a modern, intuitive platform, you want to be able to easily navigate through the platform, easily get to the information that you need. So with Brightspace, what we're looking at right now is an instructor experience. So I'm logged into the platform, I'm seeing a really clean user interface, and even something like the homepage is designed to surface important information. So things like my courses that I'm enrolled in and teaching as an instructor, getting some information about the activity that's happened within that course, seeing announcements here, little personalization features that are calling me out by name, being able to include video, and then being able to make sure that you can get your work done quickly. So chances are the instructors in this industry are also going to be professionals in the industry as well. So time is a very limited resource, and there are various features that are actually going to help instructors to save themselves time. And one of those is through even surfacing student submissions and learner submissions to easily go in, do some grading really quickly. So getting that information out to you quickly, but what does course design look like? So that's all, again, about easy navigation. We can see the couple courses that I'm instructing here. So we're going to go into one of them. And now we're brought to the course homepage. So Sarah mentioned that we're always looking to kind of support a diverse range of learners. So we are a fully accessible platform, which means that regardless of learning ability, disability, or whether you're using assistive technologies, every single learner is going to be able to have that exact same learning experience. And we can see here that we have that consistent navigation so that it's not a confusing platform to learn. We have some nice banners here. You can see this widget-based homepage. We have all our modules that we've built into the course. You even get completion data about where you're at. Again, get into the platform, get oriented in your learning, and get doing the work that you need to be doing. We have some announcements, the ability to create some video within the platform, but one of the most important features, especially when it comes with, I just lost my TV there.
There it is.
Oh, it's because I'm playing around with the HDMI. And I'm the tech guy too, so this is, here. Hold on, for a second. All right. And this is the TV, not the site, I swear. Okay, the suspense. All right. Play nice with me here, TV. Okay. Okay, we're good. I'm gonna. Well, I think we're.
It's the HDMI cable.
Yeah, I think it doesn't want to play nice with us.
If you're, it seemed like if you were using the mouse.
Oh, I'll hold it.
You'll hold?
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm just gonna stand here
Sarah's
with
really
this, guys.
taking one for the team here. I'm going to keep moving quickly so her shoulder doesn't get too tired. But what I was just kind of mentioning was our ability to support awards and credentialing, which is seen with this widget right here. So you're, as an institution, Aerial Sync is going to be able to create awards within the system where based on user interactions, user completion, grades, achievement, you can actually release micro-credentials where they can then share publicly with a public URL, and we even have a button there that says share to LinkedIn. So making sure that these learners, when they come into Brightspace, they have their 6-week program, they're going to leave with something tangible and also an opportunity for Aerial Sync as well to get their name out there. So with that, you can build these, again, custom into the course. But what does learning material look like, that course design? This is where Brightspace really starts to excel in terms of making sure that it's an engaging learning experience and that everything is housed within one space. And as an instructor or learner, it's not a confusing experience. So here what we're looking at is essentially all the learning content. On the left-hand side here within this tool, I can see all the modules that have been built out. On the right-hand side, we can see some images here, an introduction to the module. Again, keeping a nice clean experience so that even if you're not, so this is technically called a learning management system. If you're not an LMS pro, you're still going to be able to navigate the system easily. We can see things like really engaging content pages. With Brightspace, you can build in video directly into the platform, and we can auto-caption within the platform as well. Again, accessibility, creating those engaging elements, making it feel like learners are getting an actual instructive experience, and then being able to create interactive elements within the platform. Within these sub-modules, you can do things like create discussion boards for communities. So when a learner comes into the course, even if it's not necessarily a time-bound course, a self-paced course, they can start engaging with those other learners, their peers within that platform to network potentially, start having discussions, interact and ask questions with the instructors. So again, providing that space where no matter where you are, Brightspace is a fully mobile responsive platform as well. So we were talking about, using, getting your education on your phone. Potentially. Brightspace is fully mobile responsive, so you can use it on your phone, your tablet, desktop, no problem. Finally, when it comes to assessments, so what can that look like within Brightspace? We are a leader in supporting that self-paced.
Because of time, can
Yeah.
you go into if someone, because of what we're doing, if they took the test and they failed it, can we jump right to that for Aerial Sync?
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, so now what we're looking at is the student experience, and that was actually what I was going to talk about there, is the ability to gate that learner experience. So as a learner, when I get into the learning content here, this is where I can see the couple modules. So previously we saw a whole bunch of modules that have been built into the course, but as a learner, I can only see 2 at the moment right now. We can see that I've already completed some of this content, but finally, when it comes to actually accessing the quizzes, we want to make sure that we're not just You know, saying, here's a quiz, okay, you didn't get a great grade, but now here's the rest of the content, you know, keep going with it. We want to make sure that they're actually learning. So here we can see I've inputted some of my answers here. We can add video in there for Aerial Sync. I submit my quiz. And then we have the attempt score here. So now what then happens for a student is if I go back to the content, I didn't get the desired score, I now have an additional module that's been released to me of supporting content. So now I have remedial content that's being released to me. I can go back and do that quiz when I'm feeling more confident in the material, and I can't access the rest of that content until I move on. So a really nice way to ensure that you're gating the learner experience, making sure that they're actually proving the competencies, understanding the concepts that you're trying to share, and that Aerial Sync is really going to provide a really dedicated, but also a really, what's the word I'm looking for, specific, unique learning experience to that learner. And then there are a variety of ways in which once you're returning back to the platform, you know, even as instructors, we want to support student experience. So Aerial Sync instructors are going to get a dashboard where they can see all the student completion here. They can see if learners are falling behind. They can send them an email or an instant message directly within the platform. So not only are their students getting amazing self-paced learning experience, but they're getting a high-touch experience that's easy for instructors to communicate with them. So that was a crash course in essentially what that experience within Aerial Sync can look like. So now I'll hand it back over to Sarah.
Yeah, so the last thing we want to note here is that we understand that everybody is a different type of learner in the room, and that's what we're going to be accommodating throughout the Aerial Sync community. So with that, you have access to on-demand training, videos, and questions that are answered once you're in the Brightspace platform, and this is called our Brightspace community. And we actually have different sections where this can be directed for the student, the faculty, or the staff, as well as K-12, higher education, and our corporate learners. So just because you see this platform and you may think, well, I've never done any sort of online learning before, that's okay. Our team is going to walk you through every single step of the way, so you'll be supported.
Thank you so much, folks.
Justin and Sarah, we'll run a little bit if during a break you guys want to have further discussions with them. Okay, the Aerial Sync website, the opportunity is on there. Let's turn it over to Carla's assistant, Jess, and she'll get everybody a vision of what is going on that front.
Hi everyone, my name is Jess. I work for Carla. I also graduated from WashU with a master's degree in business analytics. So we have dedicated the past 2 months to work on this amazing website by filling out the information and also work with the web designer for our designs of the website. So first of all, the home page is just a very polished cover that talks about Aerial Sync Center that brings everything together, and we provide trainings in a rapidly evolving drone industry. You can also directly go to our program by clicking this button. Thank you so much. And then we have a first thing, upcoming events, so our audience will immediately know what we have going on, and then they can participate based on their schedule. And we also provide drone market statistics to highlight the benefit, the growth, and the value of the drone industries. As you can see these data, the average salary for a drone pilot is around $130K, and these data are backed by Statista and ZipRecruiter. This is also a chart for drone salaries, average annual salary, and then national-wise 130K, and the St. Louis is 127K. We also appreciate our committee partners, and we want to highlight them on our main page. And at the bottom, you can also navigate different toolbars, and also our contact information and subscribe to the newsletters. You can also scan the QR code on the agenda sheet where it will lead you to our website. For the About, we introduce our founder and CEO, Carla, her background, our mission, purpose, and vision, our team, the board members for their dedication and support, and also our amazing student These are just the photos where Carla was teaching the student flying drones at Medicine High School. Next comes to our program. So far, we have 5 programs designed. They're the corporate program, internal and external drone management. We also have the 2-year associate program, potentially collaborating with SWIC, and also the 2-day police and fireman program. Also, the subscription will help you to sign up for our updated news and industry updates. So, for example, if we go to the high school program, no, this is the 6 weeks after school instructor training program. And then these are the corporate external drone management program, which takes about 6 months, 24 weeks. After you click into it, it will have information about the program, what you're going to learn from the program, what benefit you can get out of the program, and the duration, the location, and the cost. Just to highlight, the program's price is still determined, so we haven't leave anything on the website yet. And you can also donate to our amazing high school students to support their drone equipment. We have, to support our purpose, we have a video from the students' experience, and also a donation form that you can fill out and the amount that you wish to support. Our event, this will show all the upcoming events and past events so that the audience will learn more about Aerial Sync Center. Lastly is the news page where we will constantly updating drone industry news and also keep educating our audience, help them to learn the benefit of taking our training program and what career path it can head towards you after taking our training program. And lastly is the contact page. You can also leave your name, your email, and a message that you want to send to the company, Carla, and we will respond as soon as possible. And that's all for the website design. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for being our antenna.
There's a great lesson that we all just learned again, and that is no matter how great technology is, no matter how much we try to move the needle and how much we think that the human aspect of anything we do is kind of replaceable, it's not. Okay? Sometimes you just have to hold the cable, all right? Which actually, no, like, seriously, think about that for a minute. Like, we're doing all this stuff, and it's exciting. There's technology and all this stuff. You got to have the people and the brains behind it, you know? And sometimes it is as simple as holding the cable, but we got to make sure that the people stay involved in everything that we're doing. Okay, cool time of the morning as we move on. So before we head to lunch, all right, we're going to do a drone flight demonstration. Zach is going to be part of this. We still good to fly, I'm assuming? Everything's on track? Okay.
I have to walk outside first.
Yep, that is true. And then we've got Austin Blair. Austin is in the back over here with the hat on. All right. So he's entering the UAS space as a hobbyist in 2018. Kind of became his passion for flight with his lifelong involvement in motorsports. So, you know, at first show with Fox for NHRA drag racing. And remember I told you that this stuff was going to hit the sports world and is hitting the sports world. Here's someone with now that's just turned this into a spectacular career. So everything from shooting the likes of Lucas Oil and Red Bull, garnering over 6 million views online. A pretty amazing story. Austin, you want to come up and tell everybody what you've done, what you're about, and kind of how you got going? This is Austin Blair. And then when Austin's done kind of telling you about himself and stuff, these guys are going to do a flight demonstration that John is going to help narrate for us while Sarah holds the cable.
Yeah, so I'm Austin. As you said, I kind of got into this as a hobbyist. You know, flying drones wasn't a job for me, like a lot of people get into it. I just kind of had fun flying and building stuff. So, you know, that started in 2018, and then the next year I got a few opportunities to just fly some stuff here on the track. You know, we still to this day are using drones for you know, site surveying, for parking, water drainage, things of that nature. That just kind of snowballed into, hey, we have an event, let's try and shoot some race cars if we can, and see if that looks cool. And sure enough, it did. And then when 2020 rolled around, obviously we couldn't have fans at every single race, so the broadcast aspect kind of became more important. The level of investment became higher. So, you know, drones came into the space as a good way to bridge that gap and kind of help make that viewership experience closer to what it would have been as a fan. So in the years since, I've gotten to work with, you know, networks, smaller broadcast companies. You know, I manage my own fleet, kind of navigate some of the legal things. You know, the drone space is constantly evolving, whether that be with the FAA, the technology side. You know, in broadcasting, you aren't just using ready-made solutions like you do typically in surveying. You know, I'm having to build my own things, kind of make GoPros do things that they weren't made to do, things of that nature. And it's been a really good learning experience, and I'm having a blast doing it. It's not what I had intended to do. I grew up wanting to be a race car driver, and quickly found out that that wasn't going to be a viable career path. But this is a great way for me to stay involved in that. You know, I've always loved flying. Airplanes are one of my biggest passions, and I've been able to kind of meld the two together, and I get to stay involved in racing. I also get to be in the tech field and then also fly. So it's been a really cool experience, and I'm very grateful to be in the business I'm in at 24 years old. I can't complain.
What's one of the biggest lessons you could share about your foray into the drone world?
Utilize all resources you have. You know, this is kind of all self-taught. There's really no formal training to go into the broadcast sector, especially for drones. You know, it's still less than a decade old, really, that we've been having drones flying for TV. So YouTube, Facebook, you know, Google, like anything you can find. You know, I don't have any formal business training, but now I run my own company, and I'm learning as I need to. You know, I got my Part 107 with the FAA in 2018, and just kind of built on that. You know, utilizing that and going and getting more work from it, and then networking as well. You know, just put yourself out there, learn as much as you can, try things. You know, put your knowledge to use, and you can take it as far as you want.
Where can you take some of what the talents you've developed that's being used in the sports world, in the broadcast world, and the one aspect about drones when it comes to, well, not just the sports world and aspect of things, but really it's giving us views and the ability to see things we just couldn't do before. Even surveying agricultural lands, you know, just some of the aspects of infrastructure and safety from a community aspect. But, you know, there was just no way to put somebody on top of a race car, right? To put them on top of things, and now you can. How do you see yourself potentially branching out in this business you're developing beyond the sports world? If the opportunity was there, what could you do?
Well, I think, you know, not just limited to racing. We're starting to see these first-person view drones becoming more popular in hockey and baseball, golf even. But I think outside of that, there's great potential in anything that would need a helicopter, but wouldn't be feasible to have a helicopter. Well, obviously, we can't have somebody come out here every day and shoot stuff from a heli. That would be super cost prohibitive. You know, we have a bunch of people out here. Sometimes it's not safe. So being able to throw a drone up and very quickly go get instant results, not having to wait on satellite imagery to refresh. If we go straight to the parking lot within 10 minutes, we can go have photos, kind of mock up how things are going to work. And then entry and exit for events. You know, here at the track, we have to strategize how we're going to get people in and get people out as quickly and efficiently as possible. And in real time, we can monitor things with the drone, see, okay, well, you know, the south gate's kind of got a bit of a backup. Let's radio to people on the ground to try and move them over to north, things like that. You know, the possibilities really are endless, especially at a sports facility like this, I think.
Self-educated, or did you have some mentorship and guidance?
I had a little bit of, so when I got into drones, I just started interning at an audio company, and my boss actually got into flying and gave me a hand-me-down, and that's how I got into that. But no, the actual, as far as flying, you know, using the simulator, you know, doing as much research as possible on how to build things, what components work, keeping up to date on what's coming out. And then utilizing the FAA's resources for getting my license and staying up to date on regs. Yeah, no, for the most part, it's been all me.
How important has your continued education been in the process?
Super vital. As I step up into these network shows, there's not a lot of existing information because this is so new. So kind of trying to just collaborate with anybody else that's in a similar position. There's very few of us, but just bouncing ideas back and forth, staying up to date on things. People are trying things over in Europe where they're using broadcast systems on GoPros, so bringing that over here, trying that out, seeing how it works. It's super, it's evolving so quickly. You really can't rest very long.
How, have you moved into the realm of being sought after, or are you still looking for opportunities?
I would like to think that I'm sought after. Last year I had an opportunity to do a show with ESPN during the summer, and the producers had actually sought me out and got my contact information, and instead of having to bid for the job, they were already dead set they wanted me, just based on some of the work they had seen that I'd done in the past. Because it's such a unique angle, and they wanted to bring that to their show, and they knew in order to get that, do it safely, reliably, that I was the guy for it.
Any questions from you all? Because I can do interviews kind of like this all day long.
So, are you mentoring other people? Did you say you had a team now, or?
Yeah, so I have a few people in the area that I work with who also got in as hobbyists and came to me with some technical issues, and just started working through those together and flying for fun, and kind of passed them along to some of the people that I'd worked with in the past, and they're building up their own businesses as well now too. So a little bit of mentorship, nothing formal, but I believe that you can really, if somebody has a passion for it or any sort of interest, you can definitely teach and get them hooked on it.
And are you doing only imagery collection at this point? Are you using any kind of other sensor capabilities?
At the moment now, professionally, just imaging, so the live broadcast feeds, things of that nature. We have experimented with some telemetry stuff, like running thermal. On a racetrack, the friction of the cars actually starts to heat up the pavement, so you can see different trends there. So just working on a way to kind of make that useful, but the possibility's there, and it's good to know that we can do that.
What's the name of your company?
Aerial Innovations Media.
Thanks.
Yep.
That's kind of an important question.
Yeah. Yeah. I founded my company last year. Kind of worked as my own for the past few years, so my name's a little bit more known at this point, but we're working on it.
Good.
Illinois based?
Yeah, Collinsville.
Okay.
What have been your biggest challenges and how'd you overcome them?
So working on a large scale, like on some of these network shoots, I have to deal with insurance and legal people, and the number one question is, okay, if something goes wrong, what's your plan? I've developed a bit of a system, and it's pretty commonly practiced now, but having multiple observers, having multiple fail-safes, proving, because I am usually the first drone op that these people have worked with, you want to set a good precedent and show them that this can be done and kind of take any doubt out of their mind. So, having the ability to get out of a situation of danger, staying away from crowds, having flight paths that don't interfere with people or other vehicles in the area, those have been really the biggest hurdles that I faced. And then also just staying technically relevant. Having to use consumer grade stuff sometimes when professional stuff doesn't exist yet. Trying to make those work in my workflow. But yeah, so far, so good.
Anything else? All right.
Do you anticipate drones taking the space of Skycam?
I think so. Having worked in environments that have Skycams, the setup's pretty impractical. For instance, here on Pitt Road, they'd have to run a mast on both ends and then a cable, and then obviously you have potential for a cable to fail or a boom to fall, things of that nature. And with a drone, really the only downside is that you would have to come in for batteries here and there. But in a broadcast environment, you're not sitting on the camera the whole time. You have breaks to come down and swap batteries. So I think it's really only a matter of time.
Because I don't know exactly how the artificial information is integrated, but I kind of thought the sky cams helped to put that in the field information, like when you're watching a football game and they show you where the first down, I know nothing about football, but they show you where the first down is and all of that stuff, and that's all artificial information that's displayed on the field. And I don't know if that is integrated with the SkyCam, or is that a totally different?
That's
Part
actually a
of the
very different
architecture.
product. So what happens in a lot of those situations, so if you're watching a football game and you see the yellow line where the first down marker is, or if you're watching an NHL game now and you see, you'll actually see for a lot of hockey games, like if you watch a Blues game now and the Blues are playing Toronto, you'll see a Schnucks Dasherboard sign in the corner. And that's something that the leagues have fought to find, teams have fought to get, and they finally get it. So they will take a specific time during the day, and with one camera, they map out the field. They lay that digital image over what you're seeing when the players are playing. So that's why when you're watching a main game camera on any TV, Cardinal broadcast actually could be another great example. If you look, it's actually green screen advertisement down below the backstop behind the catcher. You see the sign when the pitch is coming, but have you ever noticed how that sign's not there when the replay is there? Okay, right, and that's why. So if you're watching a hockey game and you'll see a main game camera, you'll see all the dashboards, and all of a sudden they look really different. Or it's you see ESSO on the board in Canada versus your local station that you saw here. That's because on the replays, the way it's coming, that digital technology isn't built into this. So sometimes you have limitations, and I don't know how it relates specifically to the drone aspect of it, but the drones you're getting, if you're using that for live feed, at that point in time, you're getting what's ever live. It has to overlay the digital technology that they've had to be able to see some of that other technological stuff you're talking about, if that makes any sense.
Starting to, yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of the challenges they have in that. So you'll see replays and you'll see things and you'll see different signage than you saw before. Or like I said, if you watch a replay of a strikeout, you'll see either a green screen. You won't see the same sign because that's only on kind of a live broadcast. Digital mapping, is the way that part of it works in the broadcast world.
Another question. We have students in the room and potential drone pilots and professionals. What advice would you give them at their high school, college, or going into college level that you see now would have helped your career in this new industry?
As much as I would like to say flying the simulator, it's obviously a fundamental part of it, getting used to flying before you actually go out into the field and try and do it. Networking is always king. I wouldn't have gotten any of the jobs or even the potential to show my talent if I didn't talk to people. Initially it's a little difficult, especially when you don't have much of a portfolio, but just get your name out there, make people aware of who you are and what you're doing, and you never know when the chance will come and you can prove yourself and go from there.
You guys weren't here when we opened things up. To add to what Austin was just saying, don't be afraid to walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, who are you and what do you do?" Seriously, that's how it works. Right now, you got a bunch of people in this room. You just walk up, you say, "Hi, how are you and what do you do?" And you've got 15 contacts that you didn't have when you woke up and ate breakfast this morning. Right? So that's hard to do. Trust me, everybody in the room has had to do it. Everybody in the room continues to do it. No fear. No one's judging anything. You walk up, and when you do that with a good look in their eye, a good handshake, someone's going to go, "I'm impressed by what I just saw." Next thing you know, you get a name. You ask them for an email address. And then when you go home, you send that email and you say, "Hey, it was very nice to meet you. Here's my contact information. Do you mind if I reach out from time to time while I'm going to school?" If they're worth their salt, they're going to tell you yes, but it's not their job to follow up with you. You follow up with them. And when you do that, somebody's going to call them up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to do something. I got somebody you might want to call." Boom, next thing you know, there's your first opportunity, right? But it's happened because you created it, not because you waited around for it. So like if every one of you sitting back there, there's 5 of you right now. If each of you haven't come out of this with at least 5 or 6 names each, part of your morning's been wasted. All right? Okay, that's my lesson for the day. All right, you want to see some flights?
Yes.
Yes, we get this done. Okay, John, you're going to help narrate. I hope this works the proper way. You two guys, Austin and Zach, are going to take the flight. What's the setup time? What are we looking at?
5.
You don't have to hold it.
You got it?
That's how you fix tables at Red Robin
That's
too.
right.
Was he taking off?
So yeah, so you're not gonna see the fastness of the flight that Austin was doing. From our purposes, we're looking at it from I wanna get the landscape, I'm looking at LiDAR, on survey grade stuff, that's what we're using for. Look up under the girders and stuff like that. So instead of having to shut down the highway, block the road, get a truck to go over the edge and so forth, we can just use a drone to do it. Now, it won't complete the getting under there sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have to. So it's just another tool in the shed, so to speak.
Next guest. I have some bad news, but I kind of knew that the bad news was going to happen. The drones that the students fly cannot handle this weather. Austin checked them for us, and he's like, no way. So they kind of knew that. They knew what was happening here. But instead, you're all going to get to see our students on a panel. And we're going to be asking them questions and get to talk to them. So I don't know which one they're happy about, but they're prepared either way, I promise you. But that brings us to the next guest. Lucky for me, he's new to the position because he answered the phone, and if you know me, I'm not gonna let you go. So I think he realized I just better meet this lady, and wow, did he blow my mind. He is smart, he is innovative, and what he's going to bring to Mid-America is so exciting. And I just told him, but you know, you gotta have a drone consultant, right? I wanna be a part of it. But he was a 1-star in the United States Air Force. Obviously he was a general, with 30 years of service and a certified member of the American Association of Airport Executives. During his military career, James held crucial roles, including serving as special assistant to the commander of the Air Mobility Command at Scott Air Force Base, where he led efforts to integrate AMC support for the KC-46A. Prior to this, he was the Director of Operations, Strategic Deterrence, and Nuclear Integration at AMC headquarters, developing applicable policies, guidance, oversights, and providing forces for its global operation. In addition, James was the leader of over 500 individuals involved in the formulation and institution of policies for the Civil Reserve Air Fleet. I think we are really lucky to have Darren James as the director of Mid-America Airport.
Thank you, Ms. Carla.
Thank you.
I was afraid she was going to say the bad news is I'm the next speaker. But luckily she didn't. So, no, it's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you, talk to you a little bit about what's going on in Mid-America, and obviously kind of focus on drones and some of the development that's going on, specifically with one of our biggest partners in Southwest Illinois, which is the Boeing company. So I'll touch on that a bit too. Carla kind of mentioned my background, 30 years in the Air Force. I've run a few military bases to include in the Middle East. So I've got a different perspective to some extent on drones, because usually the Department of Defense, the first thing we think about is threat, right? Mm-hmm. Is what can a system like this be used in a way that could be detrimental to our military facilities. But I will tell you, we've kind of made that turn, and now military facilities are building programs, much like we've been talking about today, so that we can manage the use of drones on military bases. So what makes Mid-America St. Louis Airport unique, if you're not familiar, we share runways with Scott Air Force Base. So we are one of 21 joint use facilities in the United States. So what that means is Department of Defense and the local community essentially partner in that facility and have a symbiotic relationship. So that's how we exist with Scott Air Force Base. Really, the airport came about during base realignment and closure discussions that went on back in the 90s. Scott Air Force Base was one of those entities that they were looking at closing. So the community and the state looked at, well, what mission set can we bring to Scott Air Force Base to make it more sustainable and what we'll call BRAC-proof, so they won't close this in the future. And what they brought down was an air refueling unit from up in northern Illinois, and that's the 126th Air Refueling Wing, and they fly KC-135s out of Scott Air Force Base. The intent behind the 10,000-foot runway that then gave birth to Mid-America St. Louis Airport was the fact that they needed a longer runway than existed at Scott Air Force Base. So now we have a 10,000-foot runway which serves the commercial industry, and Allegiant is our partner flying out of Mid-America St. Louis Airport. So shameless plug, if you want to go on vacation, you want to go to Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, now we're going to the Smoky Mountains starting this summer, or Las Vegas, you're interested in those locations, look up Mid-America St. Louis Airport and you'll get a great deal on a vacation. But that all being said, we have a very unique relationship with Scott Air Force Base. So when we start to look at drone use on our airfield, we have to have a conversation with the Air Force at the same time. And the Air Force is set up, as I mentioned, a unit, and they call it it's Detachment X. So any drone use on their airfield actually gets coordinated by this detachment. So they have a unit that is responsible for their operations. So when we have any type of drone operations, we can make sure we're communicating that. And I will tell you, Keith made a great point earlier, and this goes towards the reason we're here is education, right? We have to educate ourselves about the use of unmanned aerial systems, and especially around airports. So, obviously I want to make sure I defend the airspace where my commercial operators operate, but I don't want to exclude drones from being able to be used. So airports are now starting, much like the military has turned the corner, airports are now starting to look at how can drones be utilized as well. So there's a few things that we look at. Well, the first thing I had to do when I was the assistant airport director is the FAA came out and said, hey, you need to add something to your airport emergency plan, and that's something about unauthorized use of aerial systems. So we actually had to write into our emergency program how we will deal with anybody that's operating in our space when they're not supposed to be there. They're not authorized. So we developed essentially a policy. Hey, this is what you need to do. This is who you need to contact so that we make sure that we're, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And an asset that I didn't hear mentioned yet so far, but the FAA Drone Zone it's a website that people can go to that you can learn about what the FAA requires. And specifically, there was a question about registering UASs. Now all UASs are supposed to be registered, period, dot. It used to be based on weight, but it is no longer that way. The FAA wants them all registered, and really that's for liability purposes, so they can trace it to the user. We do have a drone at the airport. I was discussing that earlier with Brad. We've got a couple of operators. We're just at the beginning of trying to stand up our own operation. So we will go through the process of getting a certificate of authorization to operate at the airfield, which essentially gives us the rights to how we're going to move about the airfield, and it will talk about how we coordinate with the air traffic control tower. At our airport, that is a unique thing. The FAA built the control tower and we turned it over to the Department of Defense. So it is actually manned, operated by Scott Air Force Base. So all the final authorization for operations of drones at our airfield goes to the control tower for the final approval. So we're working that process. What drones are currently used for at our location, we have a lot of construction going on. We just went through a 42,000 square foot expansion of our terminal, and that contractor uses drones to monitor the progress that's being made in the construction project. For the Boeing company, they put in the, and I'll talk about this next, the MQ-25 production facility is now attached to our airport via Taxiway Lima. So we built a taxiway that connects them over a bridge into our runway. That company, Blocker, was the contractor for it, the main contractor for it. They use drones to monitor and keep track of the progress that was made in that project as well. So primarily what we see it for is monitoring construction, and that's by other entities outside of us. What we will be looking to use the drones for, project documentation will be one, and that's if we have internal projects. Facility inspection is one, and that's been brought up. So we have regular roofing inspections. I have tenants that we do maintain their facilities, so we'll use that for it. It can get to a point where we start to use it for airfield inspection. We talked, it was mentioned earlier, I think it was Austin that mentioned it, using thermal detection, and because it tells you what's going on with, could tell you what's going on with pavement. That could be a potential, because obviously the heart and soul of what we do is allow aircraft to take off and land on a large piece of concrete. So utilizing some of that capability to make a determination on the condition of our concrete, and that's besides, you know, the civil engineers taking core samples and things like that. But there are ways that we can utilize these systems during our airfield inspection. Another unique capability could be, we have the requirement for wildlife, we have a wildlife hazard management plan. So the ability to manage wildlife, drones could be used in that capacity as well. I've been at locations at Air Force bases where we use dogs to handle birds. We obviously use pyrotechnics. We have other means where we can go out and we can harass. But being able to use a drone, because there are times when we will see large flocks of geese that are outside our fence line, fortunately. But if we want to utilize a tool such as a drone to be able to harass wildlife, that's another potential way in which we can utilize these services or this type of aircraft. The partnership we have with Boeing, and why it's worth mentioning, is you talk about the development of technology and where we're going with air vehicles, and you can look at the MQ-25 Stingray, which is an autonomous air refueling platform. So if you haven't seen any of the information about what Boeing has developed, the testing went on at Mid-America St. Louis Airport. They utilized one of our hangars while they're going through this. Now, as I said, they're going to be producing these weapon systems, and that's exactly what they are. They're weapon systems at that production facility connected to our runway. And this aircraft has the ability to be unmanned, go up, and it refuels F-18s that will operate off of the U.S. Navy aircraft carriers. So this is an autonomous capability that, and we've never had that type of vehicle in the Department of Defense. So we're about to start producing them in Southern Illinois. The first articles are being produced out of St. Louis. They're going to start moving tooling over because they've taken beneficial occupancy of all the facilities at that plant now. They did that at the beginning of March. So they'll start to produce those, and my guess would probably be at the beginning of next year, they'll start producing those vehicles at our location. So we'll start to see them integrate. And the other piece is you have to talk to the FAA, you have to talk to the Air Force about how do you integrate those into the airspace as well. So there were letters of agreement that had to be written for them to test and operate within our airspace a couple of years ago when they were going through tests. So a lot of development. What you'll see in the future is, you know, you could talk about air taxis. If you've read anything about that, there's potential for a location like Mid-America St. Louis Airport where air taxis could operate if we got into that business. And that would allow people to travel back and forth to St. Louis or to Lambert International from our location as well. So, and the intent of those systems as you get into some of the bigger cities, are for autonomous air taxi systems to be able to move people. Again, it's a little ways into the future, but when you look at the way the technology is developing, the capability is there. A lot of what we have to overcome is the human, right? Is we're all a little adverse to, okay, so there's not going to be somebody in the front of the aircraft flying it while I'm in it? Could make people a little bit nervous. It's one thing to be flying a camera around and taking pictures and stuff like that, but now once you start to put human beings in the back of some type of aerial vehicle with no operator sitting in front, it will take people a little while to overcome their apprehension over a service like that. But that is what the future holds. So within the airport industry, that discussion is starting. You know, where would you have these air taxi ports? You know, we have a helipad at our airport because we have a helicopter business that operates out of there. So it would be handled much like that, but then it will be a discussion of how does it integrate into the national air route system. So that will be a whole nother discussion as we move forward. But a lot going on. The intent, this has been great for me to sit and listen. I'm really excited to listen to the student panel, to hear their perspective, because they are the future of what we will all be seeing as far as unmanned aerial systems are concerned. But if anybody in this room ever has a desire to come out and visit Mid-America St. Louis Airport, I'm happy to show you around. Ms. Carlin has my contact information as well. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I'll take any questions before I get the boot. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an idea of, in the timeline, are European airfields sort of adopting the air taxi capabilities? Are we in front of that timeline, behind that timeline?
To tell you the truth, I haven't. There's been a lot of discussion on, you know, where will it be instituted. I am not particularly familiar with what may be going on in Europe as far as the implementation of air taxis. I will tell you the International Civil Aviation Organization kind of stands over everybody worldwide, so we all fit into the same, or we're all part of that organization if you have a flying capability within your country. So the rule sets, you know, we will, and the FAA usually falls in line with what the ICAO is requiring. So if it is developed in other areas of the world, it's stuff that will be discussed, and how it will be incorporated into the United States will be part of that conversation. But I don't have specifics on who's implementing the most now. Yes, Ms. Carlin.
I can kind of dovetail off of that, and Paris was going to have their drone taxis ready for the Olympics, and it looks like they're going to be pushed back a year on that. You're looking at Houston is going to have the most flights, and they're saying that by the end of 2028, that they will be, it looks, if you saw the map, it looks like there is about, maybe 10 routes where Chicago has one, New York has one, and those routes are just, you can go from the urban area to Mid-America, that's it. There's no ride back. You just have, so they have just one flight. This one here, when you see this picture, and it was in the Houston Telegraph, it's going back and forth to all of these. So it was very interesting. So I think that it wouldn't surprise me that there's somebody called Elon Musk down there with a lot of money and he works with NASA, and NASA is backing this. So I'm guessing that that's where we're going to see the U.S. take off first.
And I think any timeline you see, you could probably add a little bit of time to it. People will probably forecast the capability, but it's coming. It is what it boils down to. It's just how will it be integrated into our air route system. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. you, Darren. Flying Stars, can you come up and take a seat for me, please? And I will tell you that they came up, that was the very first thing they did was their name. And I was so impressed the way they worked. They could probably teach some big corporations how to get along. I don't know how you're going to do that. Don't just kind of squish in there, but don't fall off the stage, please. You know, give them as much room as you can without going off the end. And I probably should get my questions.
So do you have someone you would point to as your team lead?
Yeah, they all do. But the leader can delegate to others to answer questions. That's what you have to remember. You don't have to answer it all.
She is a very good leader.
Awesome. Very good.
Thank you all for coming today. And you really look sharp. I love your sweatshirts. They look great. And Connor's mother created the sweatshirts, and the board paid, so we're happy about that. And they look like a real team that I'm real proud of. So some of these questions are going to go for all of you, and some I'm going to start with Micaiah. And why did you decide to join the Drone After School program?
The reason I decided to join the after-school drone program was because I found it very exciting about getting a chance to fly a drone and not crashing into my church roof, because I did as a kid and never got to really experience flying it, and I haven't flew one in years. So I wanted to try again as a program.
So I'm going to run that question down. Shariah, why did you join the drone?
I joined this program to see what it was about. Another thing that I've learned, just learned in life, is try new things. Get outside of your comfort zone. It's better that way anyway, and it was something that I wanted to try, and it was a very good experience. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy the teamwork that we have. I enjoy our instructor, Miss Carla. She's a very good instructor, and it was a very positive outcome. So.
Zach?
I joined the program because I thought it sounded cool, and I've always been interested in like technology and flying stuff around, and just thought that it would be something fun to do.
Jalil?
I had joined to get better experience with flying the drone because I got my own drone at home. Just got to get some new repairs to it, trying to get myself a better experience with the drones so I could be able to take it outside and fly with no worry free.
Connor?
I joined because I find drones and aircraft interesting, and I just wanted to know and learn how to properly use a drone and maybe find a career that way.
So I'm going to go all the way to the end again. Micaiah, what has being in the program taught you personally about yourself?
Being in the program has really taught me about communication, really. Because I was a nervous kid. I am still a nervous kid. I don't speak that much. I can't really do it still. But being with these guys, yeah, teamwork is fun. I've learned I don't need to be alone to do something by myself. Because I have people with me.
Shariah, what has it meant to you?
It's actually meant a lot. I've learned how to work on my socializing skill a lot more and become more patient with everyone else and see how they feel about certain things and have their opinions, feelings, thoughts matter with what they come with, and it's something good, and I like working with these people, so Yeah, I've learned a lot.
Zach, I'm gonna change your question. Do you think you'll continue your career in this industry? And if so, what do you think your next step should be?
Yes, I do think I will continue in doing this. And my next step should be trying to learn more about it, like studying it and like doing everything I can to, know like everything about it and try it a lot more.
Maybe get some mentors in to help you in here?
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna skip you a second, just so everyone knows, Jalil did our video and he was our videographer. So, how was that for you, and will you continue down that path, Jalil?
It was a little difficult because I had to keep on get a nice angle of trying to get to the drone and the person as they flying it, and also watching my steps, not falling over nothing while recording. But I see myself doing more with photography, getting better at it.
So, Connor, I'm going to take you back to the very first day that I came into class. And I came into a pretty rowdy group. And I was trying to explain how we were going to fly a drone, and I was trying to show videos. It didn't work. And I said, okay, you guys seem to know everything, let's go out and home fly. About how long before you guys said, we think we need to come back in and learn what's going on? I think that was about a minute. Would you say about close? I think we had so many crashes within 1 minute. They were like, I think we need to come back in. So from that time, Connor, because Connor is one of our top pilots, how long did it take you to learn to fly from that day to being able to complete the obstacle course?
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm still like working on it. I'm not 100% there, but I feel like I've definitely gotten better, and I've learned to slow down a lot more because I used to just try and rush through everything, but now I feel like I take my time a lot more, and yeah, I just feel like from then to now, I've seen a lot of improvement.
So have I. I want to explain to you what this obstacle course looked like that they designed. So if you envision the Olympic rings, and it was the bigger hula hoop and then 2 smaller ones, and then we covered them with noodles and put them all on PVC pipe. Then we had the straight noodles and then another Olympic 3-ring. And they had to snake the 3-ring. They had to go around the noodles and then snake the other one and come back. It was very difficult. I didn't design that. They designed that. And I said, are you sure you can do that? Yes, they said we can. And you know what? They did. So, back down to the end again. Micaiah, your team designed your sweatshirts. What was it like? That was the very first time you got together as a team and compromising and learning. I would say that was your first day of really gelling as a team. How did that feel for you, and what did you learn from that day?
It felt, I don't got a word for it really, but it was chaotic, trying to pick a name, honestly. And so when we finally came up with the flying stars, I was looking at a poster that had a shooting star, and I thought, star, flying star. And then they agreed. It was all a fun process though, really.
And the process, do you remember how we really went about that?
We were like picking different names and going on majority votes. Yeah.
So I'm old school, right? they're like, we've got to set up a program, we've got to put this online. I go, no, you give me a name, I'll put it on the board and we'll vote on it. They win. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? And I'm like, watch, this is old school. So, okay, this question goes out to each and every one of you. We'll start with you, Connor. If you could pick one thing you're most proud of from being in the drone club, what would it be?
My patience.
Your patience. Could you elaborate on that?
I mean,
From when you started to now?
whenever we first started, I just wanted to like, get going. I didn't want to listen to the lessons. I didn't really want to just sit there in the classroom and talk about it. I just wanted to get out there and start flying. But now I see and I like experienced it. It's like I gotta listen to the lessons and I gotta watch and learn before I can actually, fly the drone. And I don't know, I just feel like for me, my biggest thing that I've learned was my patience.
Thank you, Connor. Jalil, what's the main thing you learned?
Confidence, having confidence in myself, because when we first started the drone program, I was nervous because I thought when we go outside flying, we was going to lose the drone. And as we went on learning the drones, I had got boosted up my confidence and got rid of my nervousness.
Good. Zach?
Me, like, getting better at working with team and people, because, like, at the beginning, I wasn't really good at listening to what other people were thinking about it. I just had it set in my mind what I wanted it to be. But with the program, I've thought to, incorporate other people's ideas too, because I know that I'm not always right. So.
That's an important thing to learn, And I will tell you, Zach and Connor have been such great teachers for the girls and patience. It's amazing watching them team up in partners and what they've accomplished and how they'll be like, you got this, you got this. And I just sit back and smile. So I'm very proud of. Shariah, what have you learned from this?
I've learned how to really get out of my comfort zone. Because growing up as a kid, that was really hard for me. And learning to accept that I have to work with other people in life and I have to talk to people. It was a really hard thing because I was antisocial. And so coming into this group, you learn how to talk to people and you realize how kind people are and how they will easily help you if you ask. Just, speak up and be your own person and, just be comfortable. And that's what really helps you in this group as well.
Micaiah?
Mine have got to be patience. Because I'm not a very patient person. Sometimes I am. But working with them, I realize people move at their own pace. And I have to be along with that. Because I can't rush forward without them, because they are my pilots, my storage, and is he there? Cameraman.
That's a cameraman.
Yeah. Patience. Yeah, you need it when you work with these guys.
So since we're down there, Micaiah's a junior. Will you sign up for this program again next year?
Definitely. If it means being with these goofballs again.
Shariah, will you sign up for this program again?
Most definitely. I'm also looking forward to having more people join, helping them out with their first day, getting them into it. Yeah.
Zach, will you sign up?
Yeah, I will. And like she said, I am looking forward for new people to join and have a lot more, and especially learning a lot more about it. Because it started kind of late this year, so we didn't get to learn everything about it. But when I do it again next year, I'll be able to learn a lot more.
Jalil,
Yeah, I see myself doing this again next year as my last year being at the high school, since I am a junior as well. I mean, I'm probably gonna be senior soon, graduating next year. I will sign up again because I have fun in this program.
Connor?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna sign up next year too. And even if we don't get new people, I mean, we can still do, good even without new people. I'm pretty sure us as a team, we're good competitors.
So, after being in the class, I'm going to start with you, Connor. What would one thing that you'd like to see incorporated or changed for next year?
More law studies, because I don't really know what's legal or illegal for a drone and everything like that, and I worry like if I do eventually end up getting myself a drone and I do something illegal with it and I get in trouble, I wouldn't want that to happen. So I feel like I want to get into more like legal studies about the drones.
Jello?
Learn more control on flying drones on the inside of buildings, so I don't have to worry about flying up and hitting the ceiling a lot, or lockers.
Oh, did we hit some lockers, ceiling tiles? I'd be like, how'd you get that drone stuck up in the, and then, don't yank it down, don't yank it down. And then I'd look, and every one of them had landed into the fountain. I'm like, how'd you land in the fountain? But the drones, that's why you have light drones. They didn't hurt anything. So, Zach?
I'd want to learn more about how the drones are made, because I've always been interested in how things work and how they're made and how to build stuff like that. So that's what I'd change or add.
Thank you, Zach. Shariah?
One more thing that I would like to learn for next year is to keep good balance with the drone, because like she said, you got it stuck in the ceiling for sure, and we did a couple of things, but other than that, yeah, I want to learn to keep my balance and not to be so nervous when it all comes to me and me doing something, just to be okay with it.
Micaiah?
I would like to learn more about variety of drones, because I don't know why. I just have a fascination about drones and different types of drones. Big drone, little drone, medium. You know? And I want to learn how to control, how to build one, and how to, I don't know, just use it. Because I do want to use a drone. I just don't know how and what kinds there are. Like models, different models, I mean.
So, believe it or not, I spend close to 5 hours a week, Monday and Wednesday, with the students. And when I ask them, every one of them said, we want more time. We want you here every day. And I said, can't happen. But that's what they wanted. They want more time, because this has been so, and I said, well, you know, maybe one day it'll be offered as a program in your school and you can have lots of time with it. But anyway, I thank you all. You have been outstanding. I'm sorry you didn't get to fly today, but I can tell you they have done an outstanding job. Thank you all. You can go back, Kristen. We're a little ahead of schedule, but I don't think that anybody minds with that. I want to thank you all for coming out. We do ask that you fill out the survey. We want more of these. This is so important for our region. And I can tell you there's 44 colleges that are doing something with drones. Those that are actually going to be offering internships, we stand alone. We are the only one that is doing that. We are the only one that is concentrating on drone management for the internal. I brought committee members together. John was, their company was in, and I asked them for, okay, I want a job description for a job that you're gonna do. They brought back the job description on what the pilot was gonna do. I was like, no. What do you want him to do? But you see, that HR department's missing. Who does that in your companies? The drone pilots don't do that. So if you're a drone pilot, you're going to give your job description. So it's safety, processes and procedures. And I've talked to John and Zach, and they're like, oh gosh, we would love to have somebody on the inside that makes that connection. The company that thinks that they can just fly their drones and nothing else is the company that's going to get in trouble. Because it's not, will an accident happen? It's when that accident's going to happen. And if you don't know the rules and regulations, you're going to be in trouble. You've got to have processes. If something happens, boom, if there's an accident, you've got someone that you can just call. They'll tell you exactly what to do. If this happened, if that happens, because everybody has that in their businesses and any other. But think about it, not with the drone. That just blows my mind that that could be possible when you've got something out there that could really harm somebody, or they're being your company don't know the rules, they're flying someplace, and you now are going to get a $12,000 fine. That was a costly day. So seeing what we're doing, understanding what these programs are, we need your help. We need to all be, this is not a aerial sync. This is a regional thing. We need to be on both sides of the river, and you need to have a baseline of what the rules and regulations are, what the processes are for safety, for this, and then everybody can create them how they want them. But we need to be teaching a baseline that everybody can follow. I'll get off my soapbox, sorry. But it is my soapbox. I want safety. I want education. Name me an industry that hasn't grown, that isn't founded with an education. This one is the wild, wild west. And together with the airports, the aviation, with the Boeings, with Scott Air Force Base, we can come together. You know, we have programs that we're going to be adding for our police and fire, that if they're in an area that needs to be, you know, surrounded where no one can get in it, he's going to teach how to intercept that drone. So the police and fire can take that drone out. There's things that I work with grad students, we are constantly researching this industry. And you can't imagine, my poor computer moves at nothing right, because I think I have to put everything in categories, and you know, I'm anal. But that's good, because you're going to get a lot from our programs, from the news site, and from everything that we're doing. So I hope that you follow us. I hope that you say, you know, we want to get involved. We need your support in order to get this off the ground. We've done a lot with very little. And after 9.5, almost 10 years, I'm tired of not having a paycheck. How many of you would work that long without a paycheck? But I believe in this that much. And we're so close. But together we can make it safer. And we can find the rogue pilots and take them down. So thank you for coming out. I am grateful, and have a wonderful day. And thank you, God, for the weather that you gave us.
Amen.
Contact me if you want to set up a meeting.